Welcome to NFL Daily, where we're just trying to keep our producer, Eric Roberts, awake during the show. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with Jourdan Rodrigue and Patrick Claybon, here for the big Week 11 preview, starting with the early games and trying to recover from the pre-show shot that Eric Roberts was saying that he likes a lot of sound clips in the show just to break up the monotony of hearing the same three voices so long. It's so boring.
He wants to paint a picture, Greg.
Okay.
He wants to have a fully composed sandwich, and we all enjoy, the cheese.
I do love a sandwich.
But you can't have all cheese in the sandwich. You gotta have some veggies in there. And I appreciate Eric's contribution in that part.
It's just an opinion, but he went hard at it. He said monotony, like the same voices over and over. So let's just start. Let's start with some sound. Let's listen to Josh Allen right off the top, because he's involved in one of the biggest games of the week. Certainly the biggest game early.
It sucks losing, but knowing in the losses this year that we've turned the ball over, and that's pointing the thumb directly at myself. And knowing that if we take care of the football and take care of what we're supposed to, we're a dang good football team.
Yes, one of those turnovers was Josh Allen against the Miami Dolphins on a sneak that he had like 12 yards, and the ball got poked out outside of interception in the red zone. But now they're back at home. They are back at home, Greg, and they are taking on Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are dogs by 5.5 points.
Whoa.
Under is 47.5. Ian Eagle and Justin James Watt on CBS, which is an NFL broadcast partner, Greg. I have to say that now on GDL almost every time. Not the full broadcast.
Why?
Well, we want to highlight our broadcast partnerships because it's great, because it's a part of what makes the league great. But you have a chance, Greg, and we all do, to watch this game. How do you think the Bills are going to bounce back here, or do you think they're going to bounce back?
Well, yes, every network that plays a game, puts a game on, is a partner.
Yes.
We're all partners. Now I feel bad because it sounded like Eric and I had real beef, but I was just trying to drag him into the show a little bit.
Don't backtrack now.
I know he doesn't like coming into the show, but I know he likes to hear other voices. That would mean we should hear your voice more often, Eric.
If you're going to say Josh Allen said, hey, I need to stop turning the ball over, why not hear Josh Allen say, I need to stop turning the ball over?
He makes a good point.
Not only that, but one of my biggest points for this game, before I even knew that you went the extra mile and got that sound ready, was like, Josh Allen's got to take care of the ball a little bit better. Didn't have a good week last week.
I'm so glad I heard it from him, though.
Yeah, I trust him more. He was impatient last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a really interesting matchup of two quarterbacks who sometimes have similar issues. Obviously, Josh Allen's a better player, but last week especially, it seemed like there were many times in that game where they were giving him the easy stuff underneath, and he didn't want to take it. And when he had that fumble, and certainly the red zone interception, that was a little bit of old Josh Allen. But even earlier in the game, when they went through all those 3 and outs in a row, I was thinking, just take the throw that's there instead of trying to hit the big play. It's something I think that both Allen and Baker Mayfield have always tried to calibrate. And when they have the best calibration of aggression and taking what the defense gives you, that's when they're at their best.
Yeah, and I think it's the job of the play caller as well at times to protect that guy from himself or to help him calibrate a little bit when he sees him veering off into certain territories. And that's what Josh Grizzard, King Grizzard, and Baker Mayfield are learning and working through right now. Joe Brady and Josh Allen already have tried and true answers. We just need to see them, run the ball. Run the ball consistently. With James Cook, the Bills are still leading the league in success rate when running the football right now. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, while they opened the year as the best run defense in the NFL, have dipped significantly in success rate in part because they are susceptible to the explosive plays. And we saw that last week especially. But you need to settle Josh Allen down, even though I know that sounds condescending. It's not intended that way, but he's pressing and it's very clear. So he needs some help. He needs to have some help being calibrated.
And I think that goes to the other very big piece of the Bills offense, who's James Cook, who was pressing a little bit, had the ball punched out from behind, where Khalil Shakir ran 38 routes. He got 9 targets. The average separation is 3.1 yards. Now the separation can be a little bit proximity alertish from next gen stats, and we can't necessarily always take like, hey, this guy's not getting open because Jalen Waddle had 2.3 yards of separation. But it's just the way that the Bills offense looks.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it gets bogged down, which is why you had Bills fans clamoring in the preseason to maybe get some help at one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's why Brandon Beane was actually on the phones, despite what he said in the preseason, to try to get a wide receiver to get open. And
You're pointing the thumb at yourself, Jourdan.
Jordan's pointing the thumb
I'm
at
Brandon
himself.
Beane.
Okay.
I'm Brandon Beane.
Because if Josh is going to point thumbs or one particular thumb, then you got to go organization wide. And I say it all the time. This organization, this group of people has so many ties to Carolina and that era of Panthers football. And it feels like the direction is similar, where you have this mechanized machine of a quarterback, and other places the outcomes are not so great.
The most regrettable Josh Allen take I had, which was, there were many on the Around the NFL podcast, was that he could be a poor man's Cam Newton if everything went right. But that was always the comp for him. The thing is, though, the defenses are telling the Bills that they agree with you because, and I think the Bucs are really well equipped to do this. They are loading up to just stop the run. They are copying the Patriots playbook, and they're daring these receivers to beat them. And I think that's why Josh was looking for those big plays. And I think the Buccaneers' run defense was incredible last week. The Patriots, I mean, except for those two plays, which is a big deal, Patriots were literally dead last in success rate last week against the Bucs. So I'm not worried about them overall as a team. I know they've given up a couple of big plays. I think that's
them. Yeah.
Certainly, and it did against the Lions as well, and those are explosive players. So you got to be careful. But I think on a down-to-down basis, they're well equipped to have that strategy against this Bills team and make Keon Coleman or Josh Palmer, who should be back this week, beat you.
My fear with the Bills, because I do think that is exactly the strategy that they're going to take, is to try to get Josh to throw the ball, right? And then Todd Bowles, who's not really blitzing relative to a Todd Bowles season, is still blitzing at the 7th highest rate in the NFL. So he's going to bring the pressure if so. The interesting thing about what happens to Josh Allen when he's being blitzed, he's still very effective. He's got over 100.6 passer rating against the blitz, and he's throwing touchdowns. He's very clean. He's only thrown one interception against the blitz. But the completions go down. And when the completions aren't there and it's not in a rhythm, Joe Brady seems to tend to sort of deviate from the game plan. And it's sort of like, okay, we really want to see them stay on schedule and stay on rhythm, even if maybe a couple of plays aren't there or you're missing a couple of passes in a row.
You get that situation where you've got a Lambo in the school zone, and it's like you're asking Josh while he's right.
I immediately went to Lambeau Field, but I got there.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a school over there.
I just pictured a car, remember that show, Pimp My Ride?
Yeah.
Just a replica of Lambeau Field just pulling into a parking spot.
Does that happen
Why
at
is my
your
brain
your
like this?
school?
No.
There's no.
No, at Ramona Elementary School, there are no Lambos. Most folks are walking the kids to school, and this is a big game.
Yeah.
In terms of the conversation,
Ooh.
we have two quarterbacks with negative scores, both of them with losses last week, and so trying to get a big 8 points for a game against a contender for Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield,
Man.
who the Bills have been solid fantasy wise against quarterbacks. Problem is, Baker Mayfield gets the chance to throw the ball to Emeka Egbuka, where that is a clear mismatch, I think, in the Bills' secondary.
Yeah, and I thought he looked great when I went to back and rewatched. That's how you know I am owning being a Patriots fan, watching that on all 22. And I thought he looked awesome last week. I mean, petition to maybe take Baker out of the conversation.
Wow.
I don't know if
Ooh. What? After the start to the season
the season is long. The last 3 weeks, they are 27th in EPA. I think last week was one of the worst games I've seen out of Baker. I think he was maybe their biggest issue. There were guys.
I agree, because guys were open.
Guys were open, and
Well, I mean,
he's just in a little bit of a slump. That's what I like about the season, by the way. Like, all these things that we talked about the first month or two, it's like you have such different eras of even within a season, like a 3 or 4 week stretch. Like, and now this Bucs team, this offense, to me, is a much different looking Bucs offense than we saw. I think Bucky Irving and Mike Evans coming back would certainly help, but that's not happening this week.
Yeah, Bucky Irving is at practice, but obviously it's still could be still a ways
Maybe it
away.
is happening.
We just don't know. And then on the Bills side, they are still so banged up, and they're trying to bring in reinforcements along their defensive line. They signed Morgan Fox to the practice squad. They added receiver Mecole Hardman to the practice squad, and Sean McDermott was quoted by reporters there being very excited about the addition of Mecole Hardman, which I guess you could see as two sides of the same coin as a comment. Also, Christian Benford, Terrell Bernard, Joey Bosa, Taron Johnson, Cam Lewis, Khalil Shakur, Shaq Thompson, and Dorian Williams are limited to start the week. They are so banged up.
I'll take good news from that because most of those guys didn't practice and missed last week's game, so that at least getting Benford and Taron Johnson and Epinesa back would be huge. This is a monster game for both these teams, especially the Bills, because the Bills could fall right out of the AFC.
Trying to bait me into taking it as the number 1 pick, I see.
Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
How successful Greg is that? And we'll see if Jourdan provides the final vote, which we will have to update later, to take Baker Mayfield out of the country.
No, we are not taking.
Oh, well, never mind.
No.
I mean,
Ask me now.
we're gonna have it. We're gonna have a vote next week. He might not be secure on QB Island.
I know Baker needs a big QB
0 for 2 on
Sweet.
NFL Daily Properties, potentially, for Baker Mayfield. Let's go to the Chicago Bears, who are going on the road to take on J.J. McCarthy, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, the entire skill group of the Minnesota Vikings that has a J initial for some reason, which is something that I noticed this past week. The Minnesota Vikings 3-point favorites. The over-under is 48.5. It's Fox 1. Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, Jourdan. Do the Vikings bounce back from a frustrating loss to the Baltimore Ravens and get a win here against the surging Bears?
I think they will look better, yes, especially against this Bears defense that has been either hit or wildly miss over the course of the season. But having a game where you have a record 8 false start penalties, and part of that is on the quarterback because he's in charge of the timing and the cadence of all of the orchestration of the play pre-snap and at snap. It's an entire unit that has to get cleaned up to actually get like a clean eval on J.J. McCarthy. He had a couple of really tough plays. He started the game great, had a couple of really tough decisions on his throws. I would just like to see more balance and getting this run game going. I sound like a broken record, but they have to actually be just better, more efficient, more sustainable running the ball in order to settle J.J. McCarthy into this rhythm that he quite clearly needs to get into to start, I guess, having 9 emerge again.
He just feels very unpredictable what you're going to get on a snap-to-snap basis because there was a lot of good, like you said. I think Aaron Jones has looked like a different player, a better player since he's come off the injury. So I think that's a positive. There is a little bit of KOC panic going on. As not only Matt LaFleur panic in Green Bay, not in terms of job security, but just people being unhappy with KOC for maybe the first time. And I do think it's a challenge, Patrick, for him to like figure out like how aggressive to be with J.J. McCarthy, because you see the pass attempt totals last week, and that game was close for most of it. There was a crazy stat. It's a little unfair because most of them were clear passing situations, but they had 20, 3rd, and 4th downs last week. They did not run the ball on one of them. I mean,
they're so many negative down and distance.
Right, but they also had the highest, like even when in a neutral game script situation, the highest pass run ratio in the entire league last week. So I mean, I think that's a fair stat to point out, and he has generally had the highest pass, run ratio in neutral situations like throughout his coaching tenure. It's kind of what KOC wants to do, and you got to figure out the right plays to call for his quarterback.
Well, I mean, especially when you consider that Aaron Jones is averaging 5 yards a carry.
Right.
Jordan Mason was averaging 6.3 yards per carry. And we got that play where Malachi Starks picked off J.J. McCarthy, an ocean of green in front of J.J. McCarthy. And he oddly takes a crow hop into throwing a ball to Justin Jefferson into double coverage there, where I think you'll get a chance to, have this young quarterback go through the learning process, which is going to have its ups and downs. It's a reasonable thing in a guy in what I think is fair to call his rookie season, where you're going up against a Bears team now where they had 5 drops last week.
Yeah.
It was a weird game. Caleb essentially saying, fine, I'll do it myself in the final couple of drives with those a run down to the 1 and then a touchdown run to kind of finish things off. And excited to see what the blitz opportunity is going to be like for a defense that I know like field goals are bad and we don't like it when teams kick field goals. But the Vikings offense, I feel like would have looked a little bit different if Baltimore wasn't consistently getting 3 points on all those possessions.
He said,
we like
half. You don't like it. You too don't.
Yeah.
That's how you said we just now.
It's the royal we.
It wasn't the royal we.
It's not 7.
It was the Minnesota nice we.
Yeah, it's 3 points.
I think,
not as good as 7.
I think it could be more of a defensive game than you would expect. And I love when the season gives us little moments like this because you saw the week 1, and we've seen the Caleb Williams evolution, and right now he's playing with more confidence.
Mhm.
He's has the highest missed tackle forced rate of any quarterback in the league, which I think is an interesting stat for him. Like him playing the style that he played a lot in college is paying off more. And then you hear Ben Johnson this week, and it's crazy because, I have many ways to pick games incorrectly. And one of them is like, do the Bears really feel like a 7-3 team while the Vikings are a 4-6 team? No, I don't. That doesn't seem right. So it seems like they should equal out. But the Vikings already, did beat them. And I got to say that the vibes in Chicago, sometimes you win some of these games that it didn't feel like you should win. Like they have a little something extra that you can't measure in the numbers. Ben Johnson, maybe spoke about something that's a little less magical this week.
We found out a lot about ourselves over the course of the season so far. We're a different team than we were week one, and so is Minnesota. So this will be a completely different matchup as far as I'm concerned. I have, the trust level is grown for a number of players within our coaching staff. I think we really can hang our hat on a number of guys now at this point and feel really good about what we're going to get on game day.
What a swing game this is for them, because
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of bury the Vikings behind you with a win here, and I think they just are taking the Bears more seriously if they go ahead and win this game.
Well, you touched on it. I like that the Bears are also learning how to win close games instead of watching, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory like we saw and have seen for so many years from the Bears. And this team has like a little juice to it where maybe it was really finding itself. Ben Johnson's no longer really quietly internally seething at the lectern about sloppy mistakes and self-inflicted errors, and you're never going to have a fully clean game operationally, but little reveals of confidence, whether it's how Caleb Williams fired off that throw at the end of the game or how he moved outside of the pocket, or Darnell Wright, for example, this offensive line like really starting to come together as a unit and find itself first gathering itself in the run game the way that it has, and Darnell Wright, who's like one-handed, like preventing spin moves on Brian Burns and like doing cartwheels between plays and things like that. I mean, it's a group that's playing all together with confidence. It needs to now start to bleed into the receivers who have more weeks than not struggled with drops and being in places where they maybe shouldn't be.
I mean, Rome Odunze's father is very confident in his son's ability, and I believe in Rome Odunze.
Yes.
He was great last week.
He was spectacular.
This is a step up in class, though. You were looking good on offense, like against the Bengals and the Giants, and so it's exciting. But it is like you're seeing DeAndre Swift run through tackles on 4th and 2.
Mhm.
I do think that the problems for the Bears defense have been probably a little understated. Like Tyreek Stevenson is out for this game, probably. Jaquan Brisker is probably out. Like they're so banged up and not great to begin with. TJ Edwards, their linebacker, might be out. So show up, Minnesota.
Yeah, an opportunity to maybe not predetermine so many throws where when it looks great and he's hitting Jalen Naylor on game-winning routes, running wheel routes, it looks great. But when it's Justin Jefferson and there's a million people over there,
Yikes.
you got to make the decision during the play, young man. But he'll be fine. Let's go to a quarterback who's gone through those ups and downs, and now he's on the upside. The Chargers, 3-point favorites all the way across Los Estados Unidos in Jacksonville, Florida. 43.5 points is the over/under. Spiro Diaz and Adam Archuleta on the call. Greg, you were one of those who doubted the Chargers and their capacity to beat the Steelers. Are you sorry?
I am.
And will you take them to win against the Jets?
I mean, I'm sorry in multiple ways. I feel sorry for doing that to the Chargers, and I'm just a sorry individual not to have faith in my boy Herbo and enjoy that win. I mean, I did still enjoy it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the heart wants what it wants, and it wants the Chargers to win this game too. It will be a really good test for the Jaguars, just taking away the X's and O's of it all. Liam Cohen talked about this week that he doesn't want what happened last Sunday. Still one of the most amazing NFL games, I believe, of the decade. Davis Mills has authored 2 of them, by the way.
And you called that one, by the way.
He's been just part of Total Magic. John Shipley, who does a great job covering the Jaguars on SI.
Yeah, we love you, Ship.
He thought it was the worst loss of the Lawrence era. and the worst loss since he's been covering the team, which extends even further. Just in that spot for their defense to give up those drives to Davis Mills, and the offense was certainly part of it, and Trevor Lawrence needs to play better. But for the defense to really continue a trend, they gave up a game-winning drive to Jake Browning. They gave up 4 straight touchdown drives to Geno Smith and the Raiders, right? Or I think it was 3 and a field goal. And then you give up that fourth quarter. Their defense is facing huge problems. And like the one type of defense that you could think Herbo can succeed against is one that doesn't have much of a pass rush. And that's what the Jaguars are right now.
And I'm looking at the tight end usage too. I know always, but like in this game specifically, because actually when the Raiders played the Jaguars, you could see the Raiders using almost identical pass concepts out of 12 personnel specifically that the Rams had killed the Jaguars with, especially in the red zone. And that is
The word is out.
that is something they seem to be so susceptible to. And with Justin Herbert able to actually have playmakers in that phase, I know he's missing linemen all across that front, but to have these playmakers, and it almost doesn't matter to me that the Jaguars blitz at the 10th highest rate in the NFL right now, because Justin Herbert is getting pressured at a 42% rate despite getting the ball out at 2.25 seconds, which is like one of the lowest among all quarterbacks in the league ever for a game, and certainly like one of the lowest all year in a game. And he's still getting the ball to these playmakers. They're getting yards after the catch plays. The Jaguars are so susceptible to these types of things in combination.
Yeah, and they've had injuries too on the back end. I think Jordan Lewis being out really hurts them. I think Travis Hunter at cornerback being out really hurts them. And your boy, Ladd McConkey, Patrick, after that quiet start to the season since week 6, 5th in receiving.
Yeah,
Oh.
these
Pretty
things,
good. They even out.
Lightning Lad,
Yeah, these things eventually
Frank calls him.
will kind of regress to the norm. Not just to the mean, because Ladd McConkey is one of the better separators, explosive receivers in our league. And yeah, the Quentin Johnston opportunity, I think a lot came for teams planning for Ladd, and left QJ wide open. And now you have to deal with all of them, including Rondé Gaston Jr., who is dealing with an injury, which is a little bit of a ding to the Chargers, where the Jags have struggled in coverage against these explosive guys, whether they be slot guy, big slots, or tight ends. But considering the offense looking clunky, trying to adjust without BTJ as well as Travis Hunter, leaning on Parker Washington, who's a good player, but to have him out there and Jacoby Myers just adjusting, you kind of wonder where it comes from. And unless
Kobe look good. Parker Washington's look good.
yeah,
Travis Etienne's look good. Where did this running game go? I mean, it's been pretty good. Last week
it was good.
okay.
It was great last week. Davis Mills was the problem.
It was, yeah. So I think there
What
is
a world.
there is
What a world.
a route, but man, they feel like a route for them to win this game, and I think that's running the ball on the Chargers. But man, the Chargers you just don't know what to do with them. I saw it
Because their defense is suddenly back.
right.
Yeah.
I saw that insane stat from your colleague Daniel Popper that they were literally dead last in EPA per play over a 3-week stretch from weeks what would have been 5 to 7, I think, and then the last 3 weeks they are first.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that
like
is-
a head
that-
coaching job came open or something.
Or yeah, it's partly based on opponents, but it's more that they should be a good defense, and they seem
Yeah.
like they're back to being a good defense. I think that trade for Odafe really worked out well for both sides.
Yeah, and we've noted this before on the show, but Trevor Lawrence struggles just reading zones or making decisions quickly against some of the zone looks that he sees. And this will be no different, in my opinion, where I think the Jaguars have had a spark since the beginning of the season and continue to have a spark is on their special teams unit, not just Cam Little and the records that he's set this year and just a quality kicker, but also their return game is potentially very, very explosive. The Chargers have historically been up and down in terms of their coverage. They have the best, most consistent kicker in the league, so factoring that aside. But I do think that the Jaguars have to start understanding that they have to win in the margins because their defense is incredibly shaky and missing players, and their offense is not consistent and still lacks this identity that we've been hoping to see by now.
Question for you guys. So the Jaguars have been a mainstay in the "if the playoffs started today" graphic.
Mhm.
Will the Jaguars still hold a place in those first 7 seeds after this week or for any point for the rest of the season after this week. Right now, they are 5-4. They are the 7 seed. Is this the last time that we see them as part of their that graphic? Not in the hunt. I'm saying in the playoffs.
I think they will get back on the graphic this week. They slide off the graphic.
Okay. They're going to fall off, but they'll be back.
Yeah, because
you're not giving up on them long term.
the whole
A little
playoff
yo-yo
leverage
situation.
thing, and I'm not making some declarative statement, but the whole, if the playoffs started today, they don't. Right? So like that being the key part of that. It changes all the time. Because
They do have a softer schedule down the stretch than some other teams. So even though if they lose this game, I feel like it's going to feel easy to bury them. They're going to hang around. I don't know if they get back in, though.
I have cursed many teams and many players this year, so I guess maybe I'll try the reverse. I think they'll miss the playoffs. So now go make the playoffs,
Okay.
Jacksonville.
Okay, you were messy fun once. Let's bring it back. Let's take a break. And yes, we'll try to beat the monotony allegation when we talk Bengals Steelers. Back on NFL Daily, channeling my inner Rodney Harrison today. If no one's doubting you, if no one's providing you extra motivations, you just make it up a little bit. And that's what that one comment from Eric is doing for us. It's fueling us to try harder, to be less monotonous. I mean, sometimes I feel like back in the day, Rodney Harrison or Brady, they would just make things up about people doubting the Patriots.
Yeah. You need the bulletin board material. You don't actually need the bulletin board or the material. You could just summon the anger from within.
Because imagine if the Patriots had to do 6 or 7 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
The type of internal toughness they would need to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, amid all the scandals and investigations and chicanery, imagine if they were distracted. Would the Patriots have ever won a Super Bowl? Let's get to this next game with some good veteran quarterback play. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, who were favored by 5.5 points after getting ran out of SoFi Stadium. 49.5 is the over-under. Kevin Harlan and Trent Green on the call as Jourdan. It gives us another opportunity to talk about the 2025 Cincinnati Bengals defense. Will they be enough to make Aaron Rodgers and this offense feel better?
No.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh, feel better. Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
I was so ready.
Come on, maybe Al Golden and Zach Taylor, they got in the lab during the bye week. You don't have faith?
I was like, why is Patrick so surprised?
No,
that
I was like, Jourdan knows something about Al Golden that I don't.
No. I mean, yes. Yes, I do think Aaron Rodgers of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense feels much better this week. Not just because the injury status of the opponent, still no Trey Hendrickson, and also the Bengals defense has been politely porous this season. And the thing that the Steelers are very, very good at on offense, despite the fact that they're lacking in explosiveness and they've been pretty inconsistent, especially of late. The thing that they do have is they make a ton of yards after the catch plays. Well, what is the percentage of yards after the catch that the Cincinnati Bengals defense has allowed? 62.5%.
Wow.
All yards amassed against them have come after the catch, which also happens to be the majority of yards that the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has amassed themselves.
Oh, wow.
Circle gets the square.
I love that for Pittsburgh. I love any game that's just in the 30s, and that's every Bengals game. Sometimes it gets in the 40s. This feels like a bigger game now because of the Joe Burrow news that I think at this point, I think the over-under is he's going to return on Thanksgiving. And yet I do wonder, how much better can they get on offense?
Literally.
They're literally first in the league in points and I think EPA per play since Joe Flacco took over. So maybe it doesn't even matter if Joe Burrow is back. Of course it matters because we are going to watch the games and everything matters. But I feel like they have to win one of these next 2 games, and they're not easy. This is going to be the easier one for Cincinnati before Joe Burrow plays.
Which is a hilarious proposition, but why? At this point, you would like Joe to be healthy for 2026. In terms of the long-term aspirations of the Bengals, if they don't win this game, I think conceivably you could just shut them down. I understand Joe Burrow wants to play, but this defense is so bad. It's just a waste of time.
Maybe they came up with some answers. Don't you have faith in Zach Taylor to come up with some answers
Do
during the
you?
bye week.
Do you?
I don't, but the fact that no one even thinks it's possible shows us. Forget Matt LaFleur coaching for his job.
It's not.
It's Zach Taylor.
This is not even about I mean, it is because he's the head coach, but you guys have just said it yourself. This offense is playing great. Everything is fine.
But he's the head coach.
He's
So
the head coach.
To me, it's 100% on him
Well, I'm saying in terms of
and the front office.
answers on the offensive side, you can't really come up with much more at this point.
Fair.
It's the defense. It's Zach Taylor hiring Al Golden. It's Al Golden and, just a lack of personnel as well and injuries that have hit them at the wrong times and a lack of identifying the right guys for the system and the wrong system and all of it's bad. So no, I don't believe if they haven't made adjustments to this point, I don't believe 1 week in the lab is going to do more.
No, I don't either. And I think this is a particularly bad matchup. This could be a moment where it all caves in on them because one of the stats I've been watching with Flacco, as great as he is, he gives up the second there's any pressure. His pressure numbers under pressure. Stop. I mean, you shine when the lights turn on. That's when you're the brightest. The second there's any pressure, he just gives up on the play. It's over. And I think he's second to or third worst in the league, EPA per play and PFF grade, all that stuff when there's any pressure. He just throws it away. And they've played, some poor pass rushing teams. Now I know they beat the Steelers, but I do think home game Steelers in general, it's a tough matchup for this offensive line for Cincinnati, and I kind of believe in the Steelers players, and I think their pass rush is playing better the last few weeks, including against the Chargers. They just got the ball out. And I think it could be a situation where Pittsburgh wins this game convincingly, that actually the offense doesn't show up for Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The only reason to not think that is a couple of plays against the Chargers where the pressure wasn't there. And I understand Aaron Rodgers has been trying to get rid of the ball quickly, and he doesn't have eyes in the back of his head. But that throw to Jonnu Smith that ultimately got overturned, one of the worst Rodgers throws I think I've ever seen, where Jonnu is all by himself and he has to climb the ladder to get the ball, comes down, ball pops out. There was a DK touchdown that Rodgers just whiffed on, and you just wonder if you're watching on YouTube, you can see Jonnu leaning back because he thought he was going to get that ball, turn around and run into the end zone, and it just wasn't there. And so if the Bengals can do anything, I think if they can be somewhat functional, it's a great idea for Joe Flacco to get rid of. We've seen Jake Browning in this situation. Stay healthy, stay upright, Joe. If the play's not there, dirt it, give somebody a souvenir, because this, you'll be right back on the field with this Bengals defense. But what if not? What if, Greg, you've called it, and Zach Taylor has said, you know what, Gregg Rosenthal, stick it. I'm going back here. We're going to stop.
If he sweeps Mike Tomlin with Joe Flacco, I mean, that's an embarrassment for the Steelers.
Does Zach Taylor keep his job if he sweeps Mike Tomlin with Joe Flacco?
I think he's going to keep his job most likely regardless, even though I don't think. But yes, I think that would be a major step towards that point.
The thing about what you mentioned about Joe Flacco versus pressure, the thing that Justin Herbert was so good about was getting the ball out quickly, even when the pressure was coming, right? And obviously we know that Joe Flacco will maybe not tend to do that so much. He more often than not throws it away, or like you said, he dirts it. Well, when the Steelers get pressure, especially blitz pressure, they are converting it to sacks, among the best in the NFL still. And they got a ton of pressure last week, and I expect them to get a ton of pressure this week. And we know that they convert it to sacks. Joe Flacco knows that they convert it to sacks. And I do think that is a huge hinge point in the game, is just ruffling up him just a little.
They just feel like an every other week team. Yeah, it's like great older athletes have often said. It's like some days you wake up and it's just not there for you. That was Aaron Rodgers last week. It was too late. Just that wasn't his day.
You can get 8 wins that way.
Yes.
And who is so good at getting 7 or 8 wins? Yeah, sounds about right.
Let's go to our next game. The Green Bay Packers are 7-point favorites on the road at MetLife, where the over-under is 43.5 against the Giants, and Jameis Winston will be starting. Adam Amin and Drew Brees on the call for Fox. It's a great chance for us to see Jameis, for us to hear Drew Brees, and maybe Greg get a bounce back for this Green Bay Packers offense.
I might have to draft this game just to scout the Brees situation. Struggled with NBC, didn't make it past 1 year, wanted the job back, made it clear, did a little Netflix studio in this very building last year. Mark Sanchez loses his job. He's not coming back to Fox.
He's not?
He's not.
Oh.
They made that clear. Breeze comes in, and this is his chance to start climbing that ladder. Because who knows? Gregg might be leaving at some point to become the number one somewhere else. It's a big opportunity. And it would be like a Breeze Brady rivalry at some point. Like there's just a lot going on
with his old teammate starting at quarterback, Greg.
That is very exciting. I will always wonder what would happen in 2019 to that Saints team if Jameis Winston had just stayed healthy. He was playing so well back then. Then he got hurt, and it all fell apart. Let's listen to Jameis Winston. Yes, back in the starting lineup against the Packers.
I want fans to know that I'm going to do my best. Obviously, I'm going to have fun, but I'm going to execute, have a surgical execution, and just play ball, man. Like, this is something I've been doing since I've been 4 years old. And I just get to do it in the greatest city in the world. I'm going to be saying it with my son. It's the greatest city in the world. Yeah, that's a Hamilton reference, if y'all don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, 10-year reunion.
I did not know.
No.
So thank you,
He
James.
is a man of many interests.
Have you seen Hamilton?
I haven't seen Hamilton. It's a great regret of mine that I still haven't, after all these years, have not seen it.
We watched it on Disney Plus.
Okay.
Oh, you can watch it on TV?
Yeah, it was during the
that.
pandemic where we were like, we hadn't seen this cultural phenomenon. And I do know that Jameis has 2 5-touchdown games in his career, and that's 3 more than slave owners had singing roles in Hamilton. So that's what I noted from Hamilton.
I knew
Stats with Patrick.
without even knowing, although you probably bagged on it at some point in front of me, that you would not like Hamilton.
I actually wrote a full-on Hamilton mock-up song where George Washington was singing about the human property that he owned and harvesting their teeth to use for himself.
I want to see that play.
Do you have it with you now?
Yay, happy musical. We own people.
I haven't seen Hamilton myself, but that Moana soundtrack bangs,
Yeah,
you got to give it up to.
Shout out to Lynn. That was Dwayne Johnson's best role.
I don't know if we should even talk about this game. I am annoyed, actually, that the Jameis Winston has to have such a tough matchup because, I'm not really a must-win Shock Jock Radio guy.
You?
But the Packers really need to win this game.
Yeah.
They just can't lose this game. The rest of their schedule they do not have any easy games the entire rest of the season. And just the way everything's happened, they just got to go. They got to win this game. And I think the defense is great. And I think they will win this game. It is going to be a very difficult matchup for Jameis in his first and maybe only start. We don't know how long Jackson Dart will be in the concussion protocol, but it was interesting to me. They quickly announced he would not be starting this week. And Mike Kafka said the decision to start Jameis was all his. So they're elevating him over Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Mike Kafka certainly hoping for a metamorphosis.
Hey,
there it is.
This offense, but I don't think they get one, first of all. Second of all, Green Bay has been playing so much better on defense over the last couple of weeks, and it has spotlighted a lot of the struggles they have on offense. One of the things that has to get cleaned up is they have to stop dropping passes. Yes, Jordan Love could play a cleaner game, and also there could be a little bit less like YOLO shots from this scheme in general. They could have a little bit, and with Tucker Kraft out, it's really hard to do this sort of on the fly, but I have a hunch that that's probably what Matt LaFleur was looking at on his tablet is, can there be a little bit more layup options in combination?
Just throw the ball.
With running the
stop
ball.
Turning it down.
And also, some of these drops were, and the receivers really talked about this and were actually open even on social media about catches they wish they would have made or should have made. It just, everything feels so hard for this offense. It is a good matchup for the Packers in so many ways, but especially because we know Matt LaFleur loves running the ball, sometimes maybe a little too much, but in this game, it'll really help. It'll really help just stabilize everything. And Josh Jacobs looks great. And some of the harder earned yards that he got, especially on that touchdown, you could tell he is trying to will this offense into more functionality because everything feels so just difficult and the atmospheric pressure feels so tight around this offense in general. Meanwhile, the defense is really forming its, I think, season-long identity. I think in the first part of the year, you're learning what you are, especially with Micah Parsons added to the mix so late before the start of the season, or so close to the start of the season. And so I think Jeff Hafley and that group is really discovering like what they actually are and how they actually want to play.
Yeah, they had to pitch a perfect game.
Yeah.
And other than making a one-on-one tackle
Pretty incredible.
in an ocean of space with Saquon Barkley and getting beat by Devonta Smith, they almost did it. They almost had that perfect game. But I think the glaring thing that I can't take away and I can't get out of my head was the hot mic on the field on 4th and 2 and Mario Jomo saying, inside zone this way. And so Jalen Carter instantly like destroys the play and the Eagles are there for the stop where it's like, that's the call. And then you're Jordan Love and you're hearing Ojomo call out the play that you're about to run, and then you run it anyway.
And they always get 2 plays, so you got to have, and they're all in that system, and I don't know specifically what Green Bay does, but in this tree of coaches, there's always an emergency 3rd play as well. And so you have to own that, and if you're Matt LaFleur, you have to be on that, and you have to be giving your quarterback options as well. All of these things can be true. You should run the ball. Never good when the defense knows exactly what play and which direction you're running.
Right, because they've been doing that every time when they're in a hurry-up situation. And, yeah, that's where when we talk about, like, leadership out of quarterbacks, that's sort of it there. That's the type of leadership you want, is just to be calm in that moment and make the right decision. And they did not.
Also a big quarterback island game for Jordan Love.
Ooh. Wow. It's crazy.
Let me check. All right, I'm going to check over. Oh, yeah, no points for Jordan Love. -8 for the primetime loss. So if he would like to be in the conversation, because after week 10 or in week 10, that's when things matter.
Man, Jameis Winston plus the fired coach principal +7. It's a lot of factors together.
Like a whole
Pretty
bunch
spicy.
of Darius Slayton balls against Keshaun Nixon.
Like about 14 other players that I'm looking at were out of practice Wednesday. So they are really banged up on both sides of the ball, the Giants right now.
Oh.
Not good.
Right. Rough one there, but you know.
Kafka is famous for his surreal and anxiety-filled stories that explore themes of alienation, existential dread, and overwhelming bureaucracy. So that sounds like a team that I know.
The Giants. Kafka-esque. To Madrid we go as we rise, shine, and watch the Washington Commanders taking on the Miami Dolphins on an NFL game for the first time ever in Spain. The Dolphins are favored by 2.5 points because there's 2 of their last 3 games. Do you guys know where you can see the Miami Dolphins on Sunday morning? On NFL Network. Rise, shine, and watch, presented by NetApp. It's a great opportunity.
NetApp.
The folks in Hawaii watching 2 of their all-time favorites go head-to-head. Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma on the call. It's going to be great.
What time is it in Hawaii to start this game? It would be 2:30 in the morning, I believe. No, it would be 4:30 in the morning. Well, you know what?
Math.
I'm going to give you some reasons.
Okay.
I knew you guys would be excited. This is the finale of the international series. It's too bad Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin will not be playing, or Deron Payne for that matter, who's suspended. So let's ignore the Commanders for a second. I have come up with 6 reasons to watch the Miami Dolphins and be intrigued. Number 1, you're talking about all those extra tight ends, all the heavy personnel. How about grabbing a guy who's been a center or a guard his whole career, Daniel Brunskill, putting him out on the corner as an extra tight end and using heavy formations for half of their snaps last week. Number 2, Juju Brents, a 2nd-round pick, very physical, coming off the best game of his career, just shutting down Keon Coleman. But whatever. He had an incredible game last week, Juju Brents. Number 3, everyone's just talking about, the Dolphins defense is terrible this year. The Dolphins defense is terrible. How about over the last month, 12th in EPA per play allowed, 8th in success rate. They've been pretty good for a while now. Teams change. The seasons have different eras. Number 4, Jordan Brooks at linebacker, legit Pro Bowl candidate. He's been great. Number 5, Tua Tagovailoa. There's been ups, there's been downs. But when there are ups, that man celebrates.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he enjoys it. You would not know they're having a bad season. If he hits a big pass, he's going to stunt on you. And I think the Madrid crowd will love that. Number 6, what are we at? Jalen Waddle, 4th in receiving in the NFL since Tyreek Hill got hurt. And then finally, I might have said 6. I got a 7th.
Yeah, that's 7.
There is a path. There is a path to Dolphins relevance. You got the Commanders this week, your favorite. You got a bye, undefeated during byes, the Miami Dolphins. After that, the Saints, and then at the Jets. Now, do I trust this Dolphins team to actually get through all those games and win them all. I feel like 2-1 is probably the most likely outcome, but it's pretty doable. It's pretty realistic.
It's doable.
To see the Dolphins 6-7
Yeah.
in the hunt graphic going up against the Steelers in like the middle of December, they could be back.
Yes, I agree with you. I think they are still alive. And I think they know that they're still alive. And I think whatever is going on in that building, whether it's the absence of some people or the addition of like fire.
Well, everyone's just fired up because Chris Greer's gone?
No, Tyreek's not there.
Oh,
I mean, and
that's fair.
he wanted out before the start of the season.
There was bad vibes
Yeah,
there.
it's
I think that's
okay.
fair.
But no, I don't think that Chris Greer was the
It's like,
turnaround
finally.
point
Yeah.
for, especially, I don't know that players are mourning a guy who could have cut them at any second or traded them at any second. It's just not how it works. But this is impressive. Anthony Weaver, friend of the show, has helped turn this defense around, not only schematically, but really they've uncovered some incredibly exciting players, young players, and guys that just sort of fit together. And then on this offense, number 8, they actually, keep an eye on this guy because he is limited this week in practice, but their center, Aaron Brewer, is the 4th rated center on the run against the, let me start that over. Their center, Aaron Brewer, who was limited in practice this week, so keep an eye on that, is PFF's 4th ranked center in run blocking, 6th ranked overall. And if you watch him, and I did go down a rabbit hole in isolating some of these run plays because they were especially last week, they were fun to watch. They can really move the ball behind him. And he really is, I think, a huge Jenga piece for that entire offensive line, that entire system. And I know they love him down there. And it's like they've got like guys in sneaky spots that really, really matter that are coming together importantly for this team.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb had 8 pressures in week 10. And there's still reason to have hope. The path is there.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dolphins' early season schedule is the in the hunt graphic. Like I think
Right.
this, because Greg says it, the schedule explains so many things. They started Colts, Patriots, Bills, right? Then they get a win against the Jets. They lost to the Chargers, and they had the island game, schedule wise, against the Carolina Panthers. They lost that by 3, and so like the season's kind of hinging right on the Panthers and Browns games that the Dolphins looked rough in. But yeah, they might be who we thought they were. It's just the order of events made it look one way, and we're talking about meetings and TPS reports when
it started uglier than you would have expected. And what we thought they were was potentially like a 7 to 8 win team, and that is where they might end up landing. Yeah. But to your point, Aaron Brewer's playing well. Like Patrick Paul has turned into like a franchise left tackle, like that out of.
And
maybe
Austin
out of nowhere.
Jackson came back to practice this week. His window's open. I don't know how early he's going to be back with the team on the field, but if he comes back too, they have a pretty complete line.
And who knows? Dan Quinn takes over play calling. He's the new coordinator. He'll have that backwards hat on. I don't know if you can, fully count on the Dolphins as like a heavy favorite in any team. In fact, they're only 2.5 point favorites. That one is tempting. I do find it interesting as we head to a break that for the second straight season, that Washington-Chicago game was kind of like a moment in time with a heartbreaking ending. In this case, it was Jaden Daniels fumbling the ball in the rain, at which the loser of that game goes into a free fall that no one could possibly expect. The loser they got to keep putting Jaden versus Caleb in week 6 or 7 every year, and then after that happens, one of the teams will completely fall off the face of the earth. But they'll be there. They're going to travel. The globe is round. And
have we
Jaden,
checked out the planetary
Madrid.
alignments during those games?
No.
Because that might, we might have some teach tape moving forward.
I'm looking forward to this game. We've heard the enthusiasm for the American football product in Madrid is next level. So I'm looking forward to the crowd and the game. We will be watching early. Let's take one last break. Yes, we break up the early games. We got 2 more to go before a crazy big late game slate. Sometimes I'm crafting a tweet, Patrick, or a blue sky tweet. whatever you want to call it.
They're both true.
Or even writing down notes for the game. And you so successfully live inside of so many people's heads that I can hear your response that you won't like this take that I have.
Okay.
And it's related to the Panthers-Falcons game. And that it's that Bryce Young's got to pick it up a little. And it's that I think down the stretch this season, he needs to play better than he has been playing this season, or they will seek out another quarterback. That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like it because I
Okay.
like Bryce. I think he's fun to watch. But yeah, he would need to play better.
Okay.
Especially better.
I thought you would think that was reactionary, maybe a little too reactionary. I think we've reached that point. I've reached that point.
Yeah, well, I think people reached that point way too early. And it was a little silly to reach that point at that point. But now we're at this point, which is not that point.
I think part of the problem in watching last week is that it's not like he's not seeing the field well. It's, he's a short king, but he's seeing the field fine, right? It's not like doesn't have options to go to, which was a decade-long Panthers problem forever. We mentioned it earlier on the show. And it's not like there's not moments to make a throw, and he's seeing the throw he needs to make. The problem, especially last week, is he was not making the throws, and that's coming up a little too much, in my opinion, this season to feel totally comfortable with where his development is at.
So a couple of games back, after coming back from a high ankle sprain and looking pretty good, especially late against the Green Bay Packers on the road.
Mm-hmm.
They go on the road again
Mm.
to another team that's been flagrantly inconsistent. The Atlanta Falcons are 3.5-point favorites at home.
Ooh.
The over-under is 42.5. Jourdan, it was 30-0. Jason Benetti and Brady Quinn on the call for Fox. Last time, will it be 30-0 the other time? Who are both of these teams, and why do they do this to us?
I don't know. I started talking about my Bryce Young point before you made your great introduction. I thought it might help break up some of the monotony.
I think that's good. I think we're messing with the form of the show. We could do that. Just keep people.
No, really, I
awake.
just up. Yeah.
No,
No,
I
but
think it's great.
it worked out.
it is. I don't know who either of these teams are, but I do know that I like what I see out of the Falcons defense on at least 2 downs out of every 4 downs. I like their blitz ideas. I love the way that Jeff Ulbrich uses Jesse Bates. I think this is going to be a huge Jesse Bates game because he is being used as this sort of chess piece that we know he is. You remember when Arthur Smith used to call him the Terminator, using him in different blitz packages, simulated pressure, freaking out the quarterback every which way, and then roving the field in a way that can also mess up a quarterback who isn't totally looking, as of last week, like he's quite sure where he's throwing the ball and isn't quite being on target with those throws. So I think this is a massive Jesse Bates is all over the field making plays game.
And could be a big Jalen Walker game too. He's really
He's come
improved.
along,
The last
yeah.
4 or 5 weeks, he's looked like a different player, and he's playing a new position essentially in the NFL. He is looking like a really good first-round draft pick. I think defenses are going to dare Bryce to beat them because Bryce is struggling, and it's not a good receiver group. Like Tet McMillan is a very talented, good player. Sometimes he's not on the same page. And then after that, it's maybe the worst group in the entire NFL from 2 to 6 down. Xavier Legette, we don't even know if he's healthy. And then on the other side, your guy, it's not your guy. I don't know why I say everyone's your guy. Michael Penix.
I'll take mine.
Second to last in the league among qualified quarterbacks in terms of beating man coverage EPA per play. So when teams play man against them, he's not a guy who either pulls the trigger and just gives his receivers chances or can put it on the money. And that's kind of becoming the book on how to attack this Falcons defense. So you had a point you made, I remember, during the breaks of our shows last week, which I thought was great. I was like, oh, that should have been on the show. It was about, like, it takes a village for the Falcons to have those sort of numbers in Penix. There was a particular play. Do you remember that play, Patrick?
It was
I'm putting you on the spot.
it was a dig to the receiver that was drafted by the Jets forever ago that I've already forgotten his name. Right? Wrong?
Now I'm forgetting too. Certainly not Darnell Mooney.
No.
But
Mooney
either
did have
way,
a nasty
it
prop.
sort of takes away it raises the point of like a lot is going into him struggling like this, I think, in general, and what their passing game is struggling with. But he is not a guy who's like able to lift up the team.
Yeah.
It was David Sills. That's one of the few targets in between the hashes where he was wide open and Penix missed him, and like they didn't go there the rest of the game. Not to Sills, but to that part of the field.
To the middle part of the field, which continues to come up over and over and over again when we talk about Michael Penix, who takes difficult level throws only, it seems like, and really their passing game flows through Drake London and the odd chance that they actually deploy Bijan Robinson in the passing game as well, to the point where I think I saw a report out of Atlanta today that they were trying out receivers. So it's like, it spells an absence of layers. It spells an absence of guys that they trust. And it also, I mean, it's a cacophony of problems here with this offense. And I think that's it. It starts with the quarterback, obviously, but it also it's everybody, in my opinion.
I mean, throwing the pass to Darnell Mooney this season, he is 13 for 35, which is like a below average week for Shohei Ohtani. You know what I mean? Like that should not be an NFL number.
If Mooney catches that ball on third down,
just try to keep our Dodgers fan Eric engaged here.
Yeah.
If Mooney catches the ball in that game against the Colts, I think the conversation about both teams would be a whole.
Got to win this game.
I
mean, it's a big one for both teams, but you can't get swept by the Panthers if you're the Falcons.
It's so crazy how I'm thinking about how much more promising a still bad overall Panthers receivers group is comparatively to what we know to be miss after miss after miss after miss after lack of weapon after lack of weapon after lack of weapon for that team. Whoever's scouting receivers for them, someone new needs to come in there.
Strong take.
Strong take. Well, just for help, you don't have to get rid of the guy.
Yeah, no, just bring in some folks who maybe do things differently than you do your job, which is not very good. The Houston Texans and Davis Mills, perhaps, on the road, 7-point favorites. Remember the Tennessee Titans? They took a break. They took a week off.
Still playing football.
They still exist. The over-under is 39.5. Greg, Chris Myers, and Mark Schlereth are on the call. And the Houston Texans, folks, don't look now. They're on their way, Greg.
I still don't think enough has been made about the Mills Assance going on. No. That game, I don't know. There was something
General Mills.
There's something about that fourth quarter that I want to believe sparks this Texans team. Because they've just been waiting for it. They've lost a lot of heartbreakers. They have the #1 defense in the NFL, according to DVOA. They're going to have Davis Mills as their quarterback, it sounds like, for another week, which is disappointing, obviously, for Texans fans and for C.J. Stroud's health, because he is still experiencing concussion symptoms a week and a half after suffering the injury. So you don't know if this is going to be more weeks, but it sounds like he's not close to playing this week. But Davis Mills showed, what the offensive coordinator is there for, and more importantly, like what Schultz and Nico Collins, especially, is incredible in that game, are there for. And I do think they have enough to work with to win a game like this. Now, favored by a touchdown with Davis Mills as your quarterback that's spicy.
That's a take. That's a take.
I mean,
that's a strong take.
That's looking at what the Titans have done against mediocre defenses and thinking, what could they possibly do against this Texans defense? And I get that take.
Yeah, no Calvin Ridley, perhaps in this one. So it's like it's all in Shamar DK, not in the return game, but maybe in the receiving game as well. He and Io Manor, and maybe there's been a chance a bye gives them an opportunity, a couple of weeks to prepare for a really good Houston Texans defense, but that's where the spark comes from. I don't necessarily know those Davis Mills. I think that was more bad Jags D.
Made some nice throws.
Some nice throws, some even better catches on some of those nice throws.
And there was an opportunity or two for the Jaguars to end the game with an interception that they didn't take advantage of. But that's all you can ask for out of your backup quarterback. I think I truly do believe he's
we got to get
a solid
backup
quarterback.
rankings.
He's like average.
Yeah.
You could do worse.
Is Jake Browning finally off the list?
I mean, he's off.
Yeah.
Wow.
Out of the conversation.
I mean,
out of the backup.
all we had to go off was that magical that magical 7-game
You'll
run.
never forget it. I think this is a lot of Cam Ward has to throw on the run because those pass rushers are going to get after it, and those DBs can cover forever. So this is a lot of tight window throws, and Cam Ward trying to make things happen, which will be fun to watch. I hope he is okay at the end of this one. But yeah, this is going to be, I think, just that will be the script for the Titans.
And it will be on Mike McCoy, their interim head coach, and Cam Ward to kind of show their work in terms of what they did coming out of the bye, because it was not a cohesive offense beforehand, and they still have a lot of development and games to play here for Cam Ward the rest of the season. We have some of the biggest games of the entire season coming up in our late game preview. Depending on how you sort your power rankings, Patrick, we have the top 4 NFC teams facing off, maybe a divisional round preview. That is coming up in the late games preview. Stick with us. Welcome back to NFL Daily. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with Patrick Claybon and Jourdan Rodrigue. And we're celebrating the day that we can talk about Seahawks, Rams, and Eagles, Lions, and also the day that the penny stopped going into, being produced in this United States of America. This was it. This was the last day that a penny will ever be made. I've been on that corner for a while, actually. I was in something called Model Congress. I'm a cool guy. And that was my bill, actually, back in the mid-'90s, was to abolish the penny back then. And it finally happened.
Was that the news of the day?
That was some news.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I think it's a relic of the past, but it's one that I'm fine with.
It just seemed like a waste.
Children find in parking lots.
It just seemed like a waste. But it was a terrible strategy to have as a bill in a exercise like that, because no one cared. Everyone's like, yeah, sure,
Well,
whatever.
Oh, I mean, the
You
whole
guys ever
get
flatten
need
them
to
like
bet-
at the Grand
debate.
Canyon?
Yeah.
Put it through like the flattener
yeah,
and then have a memento from the Grand Canyon.
it's cool, and I think the
You should
reason
tell Emeka about that.
I will.
ultimately, you train kids on Model Congress and debate because it's better to do that than to teach them revolutionary history, because then they might actually be able to change the world that they live in.
See part 1 with Patrick
Yeah. See,
Hamilton
see
version
part
2.
1.
We're actually going to have a special extra pod next week, which is a full production of Patrick's Hamilton pod
Woo!
theater.
Get ready on the sensors for that one. Yes, a great game in the NFC West. The Seattle Seahawks coming in to get revenge, taking on the Los Angeles Rams, who are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 48.5. It is Joe Davis and Gregg on the call. If you're familiar with my MVP conversation, we have multiple players in this game with
Ooh.
positive scores. A couple of them don't play quarterback, Gregg Rosenthal.
Wow.
How does this one play out the second time around?
I don't know. I wonder, does they get less points, though, because it's a 4:05 Eastern game?
You
know?
get the standard amount of points.
Like the national audience is watching
this is
Broncos Chiefs.
time-wise, but this is a contender game.
Mm-hmm.
This is reference to the conversation.
Yes.
Mm.
The conversation where I am tracking my own version of MVP scoring using judgment from Jourdan, Steve, and Gregg.
Well, Sam Darnold and Stafford were our top 2 picks when we gave out the awards for half-season MVP. And then certainly Jackson Smith and Jigba has made a strong case. You believe that Puka's in the mix or something?
I think Puka does exist within the conversation.
Okay.
Has had a positive score last week as well. And I did ask, Gregg, if you were providing a positive score to Sam Darnold last week, or did those points go
After
to
I
JSN?
went back and rewatched that game, I'm giving him a positive score.
So Darnold has the positive score, and
Yeah.
JSN,
Yeah.
who continues to lead the league, has his positive score.
So we've obviously talked about all the things that have come out of the heavy personnel and throwing out of heavy personnel and everything
With both
this year,
teams.
with both of these
Both
teams.
teams,
And so it's
yeah.
going to be interesting to see how the defenses respond. And I think this matchup in particular, since they will know that's how they're winning, and this is how we're winning, and this is how we stop it. It'll be really interesting for them. How are they going to combat it and what the rest of the league does? Because I do think when we look back on this season, this is going to be kind of the dominant storyline, not just this game and but these types of offenses. Like, I think about that year when it was New England with the one-word play call, playing super fast, and Aaron Hernandez. And I think of the year where it's Jared Goff
And Vic Fangio.
and Fangio, and I also think of the year, with that incredible Monday night game, Chiefs, and Jared Goff, all that, like, this trend, and these two teams are kind of at the very forefront of it, and they have defenses, which on paper should be able to at least give problems to the offenses.
Yes, and I'm so glad that you brought that up because, first of all, this is a game of poetic proportion, honestly, because it has that potential. Whether or not it meets it, fine, but we are going to learn things about offense and about defense from this game that will have a ripple effect across the league, whether we see it immediately or not. We just will. The caliber and quality of the entire team that Mike McDonald has built up in Seattle, including finding a coordinator who is able to run almost the inverse of what his defense is good at defending, and also what Sean McVay and Chris Shula and company have built in Los Angeles on offense and defense. Again, almost inverses of each other, but aligned by the same principles. And I think that Seattle is perfectly built to defend both of the personnel groupings that the Rams prefer to use. That's 11 personnel, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 13 personnel, which is 3 tight ends, 1 receiver. And part of this is because they have a player who I think is one of the most important players of this game, who has had some learning moments this year, but when he's been healthy and returned from the early season injury, Nick Amenwari is an absolute hinge player for this game.
Mm-hmm.
If you'll indulge me.
Yes, always.
The Rams want to make everything look the same pre-snap out of both 11 personnel and 13 personnel, and they want you to have to guess whether it's run or pass, no matter whether they're in the lighter personnel or the heavier personnel. So that freezes you as a defense. If you want to adjust to play heavier in the back 7 on defense, they are typically athletic enough in either of those preferred personnels to run past you. And if you want to go lighter nickel to get more speed on the field against the lighter speed personnels, they can run the ball out of 11 personnel, or they can sub into 13 to get bigger against you. So Nick Amenwari becomes a key figure, even as a rookie safety, who is a perfect match for this defense because you can leave him in as a third safety, a second inside linebacker, or a match slot defender, especially against 13 personnel passing. He's big enough to defend the run. He's fast enough to cover and big enough to cover tight ends, but fast enough to also cover smaller, faster receivers. And this is, first of all, in part why Seattle keeps him on the field for almost every snap since he returned from injury, because he is their queen chess piece on the field who allows them to be just as multiple as the offense that they are seeing on the other side. Now, it also commands the rest of the defense to play up to their potential, which is significant, perhaps the best in the league right now.
Yeah, in terms of the way I'm viewing this, because throwing out a heavy personnel in comparing the two teams, the Rams will still be able to run. I don't trust the Seahawks run game at this point, and I'm not exactly sure that Seattle does here. In like the way that this kind of trend will be emulated around the league, like you don't have the pieces to do it at this level, where there's not the way that Darnold's playing and the way JSN is playing and the way Stafford's playing with Devontae right now, especially in the red zone, and what Puka could do. There's ways you can try to go out there and do similar stuff, but I think what makes this game so interesting is the different ways that the best pieces play, despite the way, because I think the Rams could like zig at the zag opportunity here, and it's like, oh, throwing out heavy personnel, it's going to be a whole lot of Blake Corum as well as Kyron in this game, where Seattle will be out of that, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Sam.
I think last week might have been a turning point for the Seahawks running game. We'll see. It wasn't an easy matchup. The Cardinals are a top 10 defense in terms of DVOA, and they had a 13-play drive, and towards the end of that game, it was incredible. They just didn't let Sam Darnold pass the ball. It was the highest run-pass ratio of any team in any game all season. Now, that was because of the score, but the crazy thing is they were successful throughout the course of the game. It was easily their best running performance of the year. And so can that continue against a defense which has really improved in terms of stopping the run? You're right that that's like kind of the one weakness of these teams for the most part this season has been the running game. But the Seahawks will be without, is it Jake Sundell? Their center, and that's a big deal for them, who's going to miss like 2 to 3 weeks. So Oluwatimi comes in, and he had some snap problems last week with Darnold, and so that's going to be tricky for them. I think on the other side, it's just how much can the Seahawks speed up Matthew Stafford, because his numbers against pressure this year are not great. He is just getting rid of the ball so quickly because he's preserving himself, and this is a defense that has 6 different players between 23 and 36 pressures. It's like you don't know where the pressure is going to come from. And if they can just dominate that matchup, Seattle, I think they win this game. They are the number 1 team in DVOA by a decent amount, but the Rams are number 2. So they are the best 2 teams, I believe, just eye test wise, and the numbers will tell you right now.
I'm so excited for this game. I'm excited that Greg Olson's on the call because we're all going to learn something out of this game as well. This is also, we can't forget, Sam Darnold really wants and has worked for a better passing performance against this almost exact defensive front. Because the last time that Sam Darnold on a different team played this almost exact defensive front, now with the addition of Poona Ford to help them stop the run, they got to him and were relentless, and he probably had one of his worst games and then was chased by that narrative all season. Since has more than shaken off that negative narrative that was attached to him after that game, but he really wants to go out and show his work. I think this is the most fun offense to come out of the Kubiak system in a while. I'm so excited for this game. This is my pick. I'm the number 1 pick, and I am so glad it worked out this way. This is absolutely my pick.
I feel like that could be a drop. I'm the number 1 pick. Now these 2 teams do face off again in Seattle on Thursday Night Football in Week 16. So these 2 games I think will really help tell the story, not just of the MVP conversation, but of potentially the number 1 seed in the NFC.
Yeah, get San Clemente High School, the Tritons, Sam Darnold coming back down from California.
Love that
of course,
for
where
him.
he played his college football as well. Looking forward to that one. But we're also looking forward to the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid off the bye, Jourdan Rodrigue. It is a thing that is frequently discussed. They are 3.5-point favorites at the Denver Broncos, who will hope to look better on offense. 43.5 is the over-under. It's Jim and Tony and Tracy, the CBS Uno team. Is it time for the Broncos to have their big offensive output against a good Chiefs defense?
I just haven't seen enough consistency from the Broncos offense over the course of the entire season to fully buy it. And it's not just Andy Reid coming off a bye, it's Steve Spagnuolo coming off of a bye. I mean, I don't want to draw that straw.
Yeah, I think it's 9-3 as a coach of the Chiefs, and then it was really crazy with Philadelphia. I think it was 11-1, something like that. So you add it all up, it's like, but 9-3 is a normal sample size of what Andy Reid has done every season. It might be lower than his average winning percentage. I do want to see what they come out with. I'm disappointed that they didn't trade for Breece Hall. The reporting from Rich Cimini was that they offered a 4th, so they wanted him. And the Jets, to their credit, I think, held firm for a 3. Like, why trade Breece Hall at all? But definitely why, without getting a better draft pick. And I think they lack a little bit of explosion. They haven't said, the Chiefs, if Josh Simmons is going to start at left tackle. He returned to the team during the bye week, so I would anticipate that he would be playing. And again, we're not in must-win territory, certainly not for the Chiefs. But I think if you want to win the division, they probably have to win this game. Because if they didn't, they'd be 3 back of the Broncos with, 7 to play. And then they'd also have 3 division losses. There's another tiebreaker you're already going to lose. You're not going to win the team tiebreaker. You've already lost to the Chargers. So at best, you're splitting there. This would be a loss where at best you're splitting with the Broncos. You would be 2-4 in the AFC. At some point, the numbers just really start to hurt, and you're just aiming moving forward for like a 7 seed. This is the type of game where you would expect the best out of the Chiefs. That is what I expect to see.
And good news for them. Simmons did practice and was a full participant on Wednesday. So there is that. But there's also a chance for this Broncos team, which has not just been like inconsistent total game. It's been inconsistent within plays.
Mm-hmm.
But within that inconsistency, there is the capacity to get yards and have completions and score touchdowns. Where if you're one of those, I'm sick of the Chiefs folks, like Gregg just drew the path for you.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos could go a huge
Thanks,
way
Greg.
to fixing that issue right here in Week 11.
Well, and if you don't want everyone to be so hard on Bo Nix and everyone's like, oh, everyone, the Broncos fans, well, stop booing the hell out of him. Unless they're booing Sean Payton in the play calling. I don't know
It
who
could
they're
be.
booing. They're just booing because they like to
Staying
boo.
warm,
It's the only way to do it.
Yeah, you guys mentioned Josh Simmons returning. What a front to do that against, right? Nick
We're watching
Bonito.
some-
Sorry, I was reacting to a Knicks throw.
Yeah, we're watching some
Oh, I didn't
groaners.
even turn to the left here. Uh-oh, here we go.
Yeah, please check us
yeah.
out. Like, subscribe
Tough look on a screen.
on
Pass.
YouTube. The weather was rough that night against the Broncos. Against the
I
Raiders.
sort of blocked that game from my memory. We got some real Al Michaels nihilism in that game.
No, I was gonna say no comment, but why do I need to say no comment? Al's been great,
I
but
love
I want
when
more energy out of that booth.
I love when he goes full on Dark Al,
He needs to get a little more energy from the guy next to him.
Well, he could be inspired. They could be inspired. I'm trying to get it back to the Broncos front somehow. No, it's one of the best defenses still, with or without Patrick Surtain on the field. One of the best defenses in football, and it starts up front with Nick Bonito and Jonathan Cooper and how much they're pressuring the quarterback. They're affecting the quarterback at both within the top 5 of pressure rates in the NFL right now. It is just tough to get anything done against them. This is a lot of potential for uncomfortable Patrick Mahomes, who still makes magic happen even despite some of that discomfort. It would so help the Chiefs if they could just run the ball and take some of the teeth out of that front.
Greenlaw's really helped their defense, so
Yeah.
that they lose Surtain, but Greenlaw coming back from his injury,
Hufanga.
he's looked fantastic. I guess I wasn't just counting on that, considering the scope of how serious that injury was. And we've talked about like the Chiefs are back. We've said that a lot, and I think it's true. I think it was a matchup thing against the Bills. Well, this is a great showcase to prove it. It's not going to get any harder than playing in Denver.
But I think the Bills put some stuff on tape where personnel-wise, the
Mhm.
Broncos can do every bit of what Buffalo did to that Bills offense, and to the Chiefs offense, and crowd the line of scrimmage,
Mhm.
keep the short and quick stuff away from Mahomes, and force the Chiefs to show those receivers getting open deep.
That market locally is on Chris Jones' watch. Now, I'm not participating. I'm just noticing that's a part of that conversation in that market.
That he's not playing well enough.
Just some people just asking some questions about his play and what,
I feel like he was playing well before the bye, at least.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to be the
Mm.
person who
Mm.
is one of the best defensive tackles that we've seen.
Yeah.
Like,
there were 10 other people on the field when Trevor Lawrence was
I
laying
am
on the
not.
ground.
I'm just
They got
noticing.
off.
I'm just noticing the conversation.
Mm.
That's all.
And that's what we do. We take note of discussions that are being had as they pertain to football. And there's plenty of jovial discussion regarding the Detroit Lions on Sunday Night Football with their new exciting play caller taking on the Philadelphia Eagles, fresh off of the win on Monday Night Football. It is the Birds by 2.5. Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth on the call. Greg, there's been I'll leave you to one particular discussion that I know you're excited to have.
Okay.
But Dan Campbell likes calling football plays. This defense significantly better than the one he called plays against last week.
That's true. It'll be a much bigger test. I think he set himself up. It was like throwing an alley-oop off the backboard to himself, and he delivered. And now you got to play a defense with drastically improved 4-man pass rush, where they don't have to send pressure. So that's more of what Vic Fangio wants to do. They might even get Ja'Cory Bennett. I don't know how big of a factor that will be, but will they play him over Adoree Jackson? Jair Alexander retired since we last talked, and I don't think we detailed that on the show at any point, and that's too bad for the Eagles and for Jair, who just wasn't feeling it, and I think he surprised the Eagles according to Nick Sirianni. But this is such a fascinating matchup because they're obviously both Super Bowl contenders. There have been two of the best teams in the NFC now for a couple years in a row. It's 6-3 versus 7-2. And yet, I think compared to last year, they're both still searching for like that mythical like peak performance, and it's going to be tough to reach it. Nick Sirianni, especially on offense, is getting a little tired with the questions that are coming up about his star receiver.
This is the third time, though, after a victory where AJ, either on social media or in this case a live stream, has sort of voiced his displeasure. Is that at all becoming a distraction?
No, I don't think so. Again, you can only go from your interactions with everybody and the way they go about their work on a daily basis that you guys aren't able to see. But no, it's business as usual.
When you say it was kind of business as usual with AJ, I mean, his latest comments, made it seem like it's not business as usual. Like, how do you kind of reconcile that with him?
Yeah, guys, I'm close to being done answering these questions with this.
The comments that he's referring to were during a November 11th, that's Tuesday night, Twitch live stream with streamer Janky Rondo. I love that USA Today is just, quoting the streamer Janky Rondo, where he asked, like, is everything good to AJ? AJ was on the stream. He said, no, where you been? It's a bleep show. Are you paying attention? The more concerning part for me, Patrick, and you've got your face covered, you have frustrations, was earlier in the live stream, he said everyone that owns him in fantasy should cut him. And I just want to say, don't listen to AJ Brown's fantasy advice. What is frustrating you about this, Patrick?
A year ago, they asked AJ Brown what the Eagles needed to work on.
Yeah.
And he said passing. And since then, everything AJ Brown has said or done, even on the sideline where he's holding a book, has become some sort of news that's worthy of discussion. The Philadelphia Eagles, in case people don't remember, won the Super Bowl. They blew out the Kansas City Chiefs, who were trying to win multiple Super Bowls in a row, including one against them, and they blew them out.
That was so long ago, Patrick.
Jalen Hurts was on the sideline begging Nick Sirianni to go in and score more points against the Kansas City Chiefs. There was a 4th and 6 on Monday Night Football with 33 seconds to go, and Nick Sirianni inexplicably decided to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And we're talking about AJ Brown on a stream with Janky? What are we doing as a society? This is so dumb and vapid and empty. It does not matter. They won the Super Bowl. We're talking about distractions? Hoisting a trophy is apparently a distraction. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, just for clarity, I think he goes more by Rondo, not Janky. But the full name, Janky Rondo.
Janky Rondo?
But
Was this a reference to
Ronde.
late
Rondo.
stage Celtics Rondo?
I hope not, because he was never janky.
My only take from all of this
Yeah.
is that moment where Nick Sirianni blinks very hard. If you ever wondered what Gregg face is, that is Gregg face.
Okay.
Just the feeling you got from watching that.
But like, what are y'all trying to do? I don't understand. Like, what's the extra insight? Unless you're just trying to be smarmy and create this thing where it's like we have to highlight and get the microscope out on every AJ Brown interaction. Yeah, he would like to catch the ball and get yards, but they won the game.
Well, it's like a cross section of things. Everything you're saying is true. I mean, the Super Bowl. Who can remember that? It was all the way back in February. They don't have recordings of that or anything. But it is a fascinating problem that I think helps to show how complicated football is. And no matter how many times we talk about it, there is something lacking with this regular season Philadelphia Eagles offense that, despite having all the talent in the world, Nick Sirianni, and to your point, I agree, more focus should just be on what is he doing with some of these decisions. To that point, they gave Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata and Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith top of the market money. Landon Dickerson. Many of those guys will be in the Hall of Fame someday. and they are making the choice on about a quarter of their third downs to just give up. Let's just run the ball on 3rd and 12. Let's literally not even try. And I don't even know why or what that, like, there's just something so strange about why it doesn't all work that it is fascinating.
And that would be a great question to ask Nick Sirianni instead of asking him the same exact question after he already answered it regarding somebody's performance on Janky Rondo's Twitch stream.
You want to talk about the matchup?
I wonder. Actually, I was curious about that because sometimes play callers, they sequence plays together in packages and groupings. Now, I don't think it is ever great to be so predictable on 3rd and very long that you're going to run the ball as frequently as they do. But you could also, if devil's advocate, you could also be sequencing it with a 4th down play.
But they never get to that 4th down play.
Exactly.
It's been so unsuccessful. One of the times was in the red zone last week. That was
right.
Really
So again, this is part of the problem is like banging your head over and over again. This is the Eagles team in a nutshell, banging your head on the same topic over and over and over again and expecting different results. It's the same problems every year, whether it's in the pass game and that's not working effectively, or it's the play calling, or it's the run game. You know, I think that this is ripe for the Lions, who, first of all, I want to see both of these offenses reach their actual potential. And I think we've seen it in fits and starts with both of these teams, but they have so much potential, and I would like to see both offenses reach that. I think that the Eagles' defense is very close to reaching its full potential, certainly after what they looked like last week. And I think that the Lions have reached on defense their full potential, and this is a defense that has the ability to roll and potentially even capitalize in a very interesting and cool way against, first of all, the run game, and force Jalen Hurts to pass the ball, because the Lions defense is not missing tackles. They're not missing tackles, and what they're trying to do with Saquon Barkley is get him into space and set up mismatches for him. I saw this season, I'm seeing, for all of his great qualities as a top running back, I'm seeing a lot of Saquon Barkley TFLs. I'm seeing a lot of Saquon Barkley brought down on first contact. And yes, he still is capable of these great explosive plays. We want to see the passing game get fixed. The Lions defense may help us out in this effort of wanting to see them pass the ball to a lot of different guys more.
Yeah, because they're not 100% healthy. That is the biggest problem with the Lions right now. Kirby Joseph's still out of practice. Terrion Arnold suffered a concussion last week. He is not practicing on Wednesday. Generally, that means you're out for the game if you're not practicing on Wednesday after a concussion. I'm sure Aiden Hutchinson I would assume is playing. He didn't practice because of an elbow injury. So we don't know if Kirby Joseph is returning. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. So that's in the secondary. Unfortunately, they could be a little shorthanded. And it is strength versus strength. Jalen Hurts versus man coverage is awesome. Lions very good in man coverage. And then, Jared Goff, we talk about it pretty much every big game. Like, second in the league EPA per play, clean, 20th against pressure. Can they get that pressure with the 4-man pass rush? It'll be fascinating.
Yeah, believe they can.
And will Dan Campbell have his glasses on? These are the questions we should be asking every local market.
Yeah, hopefully they got to Lane Johnson in his status before they asked the 15th question about A.J. Brown.
Right, because that injury looked like it was going to knock him out for weeks, but Lane Johnson isn't messing around. They are no longer, by the way, allowing Jalen Carter to take any plays off. Just about the only defensive tackle in the league who just plays every single snap. Looking forward to that. Sunday Night Football. We're going to have to zoom through our Sunday show so I can watch some Eagles and Lions. Let's take one final break. We have a trio of games to wrap up our Week 11 slate. Back on NFL Daily. We're hitting the home stretch. If it's an 800-meter dash, we just hit that. We just hit the corner.
Patrick doing his part to break up the monotony.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, how are we doing, Eric? I forgot to throw to a Dan Campbell sound during the last break.
Never apologize, Patrick. I love when you rant. It's the best.
It was great. We're pretty deep into this show.
Don't you dare apologize.
Has it been too monotonous, Eric? How are we doing?
No, you get Patrick screaming about stuff. Great.
That's too many screams. Indexing too highly on screams. So we're going to base everything out and go to a very comfortable Kyle Shanahan.
Garden.
Whose 49ers are a 3-point favorite. We still don't know who the quarterback is going to be, and perpetually a question mark at the Arizona Cardinals, where we do know it's Jacoby Brissett, Kevin Kugler, and Daryl Moose Johnston on the call. Jourdan Rodrigue. Another chance for the Cardinals to look good and lose.
Oh,
I think you've said it all, Patrick. No, I mean, it's going to be tough to deal with this offense coming off of what just happened to them. And poor Jacoby Brissett. Seattle came after him right away. Obviously, turned the ball over a couple of times. And now they're also going to be without Marvin Harrison Jr., who, very surprising news on Wednesday, he's out because he had to have appendix surgery. So definitely not going to be on the field this week.
no, it sounds like that's at least going to be a 1 week absence for Marvin Harrison Jr. So, like, that's the bad news. The good news is his father won't have to watch their offense this week. He can just go golfing or something. Zay Jones also tore his Achilles last week, so I feel really bad for Zay Jones, and he added some depth to that group too. And in the end, like, ownership, I don't think is going to give Gannon a huge pass for all the reasons why this is happening. Like, he needs to make this work. They're 0-3 in the division, for instance. We were talking about division record. Like, if you can't beat the 49ers at home, it's a brutal division, but you were kind of hired as the defensive guy who could help solve the offenses, and they all have similarities in this division. If you can't be that guy, what are you doing here? And Brock Purdy is planning to have, quote, an aggressive practice with the goal of starting Sunday, according to Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah,
So-
who always notoriously tells the truth.
That's true.
I mean,
But
he's
why
the
would he-
starting quarterback. He's had the hopes of starting Sunday every single week, right?
I don't think so, though, based on how Kyle's presented it. By Wednesday, they've kind of indicated that it's probably going to be Mac Jones, whereas that quote would indicate it's probably going to be Brock Purdy, or at least that's their hope this week, that we could see the return of Brock Purdy. And I, for one, am looking forward to it. I kind of like,
I don't believe you, Greg.
Okay, here's the thing.
I think you want to see Mac Jones.
Here's the thing. It's almost like
Yeah.
Drake May's season. It's what happened to Mac Jones over the last 7 or 8 weeks. It's not going to get any better than that. Let's just take him out with a couple innings to spare and bring in Roki. You know what I mean? Like, he's getting tired. It's only going to get worse from here for Mac Jones. So let's put in Brock Purdy before it all goes to hell. And they're still right in this. They have a great schedule to make the playoffs. I think the 49ers still have a better chance to make the playoffs than maybe the average person thinks.
One of the big things that could really be conjoined with Brock Purdy's return is also getting Ricky Pearsall back.
Mhm.
He's expected to practice this week, and that's huge because he looked like an absolute number one receiver when he was healthy. They were poised to make him that all through training camp, his rapport with Brock Purdy. And this offense, with George Kittle doing remarkable things last week and them still losing because they just are so injured everywhere, including on their defense, which is just the walking wounded at this point. They need to score points. They need to create explosive plays to stay in their A-plus game plan the entire game as long as they can and keep a lead as long as they can in a game and try to avoid A, having to play from behind, and B, putting too much on the shoulders of this defense that is so embattled at this point, and having a number one explosive playmaker like Ricky Pearsall back with the quarterback who worked all spring and summer and fall with him. That would go a long way for this 49ers team.
A long way to, I think, give perhaps more opportunities to Brian Robinson Jr.
Hey.
in the run game, not to necessarily take carries away from CMC, but to deploy CMC more where you would like to deploy him in the passing game, and give him a break in the run game, because we see the explosiveness that Christian can provide. Where I don't necessarily think it's close in this one. I would have the 49ers easily in a game where they can get to 7-4, and kind of have the Cardinals where I think maybe they should be.
I think this is a good Cardinals defense still, and I think Jacoby against a team that doesn't really have much of a pass rush has a shot. So I would expect another one of those close Cardinals games, it is surprising to me neither of these teams run the ball well. I mean, the Cardinals are down to 28th in DVOA in terms of running, but the 49ers are much better.
They need a really big game from guys like Tatum Bethune, for example, because this is going to be all Trey McBride through the middle of the field all day for Jacoby Brissett. So Upton Stout, really love him as a player. He is too small of a human to be defending a tight end in the slot, and so you really need a big game from your inside linebackers and support safeties and all of that against Trey McBride. This could be I don't do fantasy football. This could be a big Trey McBride fantasy game, and still the San Francisco 49ers win.
Yeah, they at this point they all are. Trey McBride has had 5 touchdowns in 4 games with Jacoby Brissett in the previous 21 games.
Yeah.
With Kyler Murray.
He's been posting about him in his Instagram story also, which trope alert, I know, but after when Jacoby was named the starter, there's a post of him lifting him up after they scored a touchdown. He's very productive.
Speaking of fantasy, the Pearsall was available in my local 10-year-old kids league. So I mean, just take a look. Maybe someone snoozed and let go of him too early.
I think you want to change how you present that information.
I mean, people get it.
The Baltimore Ravens are 7.5-point favorites against Dylan Gabriel for now, and the Cleveland Browns, the over-under is 39.5. Andrew Catalan, Charles Davis, and Jason McCourty, they're on the call. Gregg Rosenthal.
Yes.
Is this the final start for Dylan Gabriel?
Okay, I saw Stefanski was like, Dylan knows he's got to be more accurate and hit some of those throws that were there. We know that. Just, you're getting mad about Nick Sirianni trying to throw people off the scent or answering questions about something that doesn't matter. Yes, Dylan Gabriel is not a good NFL starting quarterback. I don't think it matters who is starting at quarterback for this team. You might as well see Jourdan at some point. Whatever. This offensive line is truly terrible. These 2 tackles are worse at playing tackle, I think, and that includes, unfortunately, Conklin, who's been around a long time, than Dylan Gabriel is at playing quarterback. This was the most expensive offense in the NFL last year. They are paying Wyatt Teller and Bitonio and Njoku big money into next year that's already dead money, assuming they're not even going to be back on the team because of Watson and everything. But this is what Andrew Berry has wrought, and I feel like he's gotten such a pass, and I do think these are the final days of Kevin Stefanski. When Dan Orlovsky was on ESPN saying that he thinks Stefanski would be a good choice for Jackson Dart and the Giants, I mean, alarm bells started going off for me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, what agent or who's pushing different agendas, but I do think conventional wisdom is now on the side of Stefanski is not going to survive this season for the Browns.
Wasn't a lot of room on that raft when the Titanic went down, you know?
Jimmy Haslam, their owner, said before the season, 3-14 isn't going to work. So he literally is on the record of what would be a bad record, and that's what they're on pace for. So.
But so many decisions are directly linked to his decision.
Yeah.
And it's something we talked about with Chris Breer, where you get a job. You get a great job, whether it's writing at The Athletic, whether it's being on NFL Network, working for NFL media, where your job is to keep your job. And if the big boss says, I would like to do this, and then you do this, it seems weird for the big boss to be like, you did this? You're fired. Where now it would be weird for the big boss to do that, but the big boss is the big boss, so they can do whatever they want.
The craziest stat with this game is that this is the 6th straight matchup that the Browns have had a different quarterback against the Ravens. That's just that is insane. Let's talk Ravens very quickly before we move on from this game.
Lamar did miss practice to start the week with a sore knee.
Yes.
Something small to keep an eye on.
Harbaugh said he expects him back on Thursday, and then he expects he'll play. Although we did hear similar-ish things when he was struggling through an injury previously this year. I do think Lamar's, the way that they integrate him running the ball, he is running the ball less than he's ever run the ball. And so I've got a fever. And the only prescription for it is more Keaton Mitchell.
Oh, my God.
That's what can help solve this Ravens running game if Lamar's not going to run again.
If only you did the accent. I feel like you could pull it off.
I don't need to. Just give me some more Keaton Mitchell. That kid looks awesome.
Yeah, last 2 games, I believe 7.4. 2 out of his last 3 games. 7.4 yards per carry and 10 yards per carry for Keaton Mitchell. And there was Justice Hill only had 1 carry last week. It was the touchdown that he got, where I don't know what happened there to get goal line back Justice Hill, but
they're not all the way back, and this matchup could point that out because they're like that's why you need Keaton Mitchell. I think is because their guards aren't that good, and Derrick Henry needs a little lane to go through. Keaton Mitchell's explosive enough that you might just get him creating plays on his own, or getting through a hole quicker than a Derrick Henry would. Rashad Bateman's hurt. He has an ankle sprain that might keep him out this week. Isaiah Likely has, no production this year. Neither does Bateman. Like, they aren't all the way back, and I think this will be an interesting matchup to watch, at least when the Ravens have the ball. That's it.
Interesting. They get in the end zone a couple times. Here's one thing. 4th and 1.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Andrews under center in the push formation.
Yeah.
I would like to see that for the remainder of the season.
I love that. Yes.
The opportunity, the options out of it, tossing it to Lamar. You still got passing options there. You sneak it with Mark Andrews. Considering the way things have gone on 4th and 1 earlier in the season, I would like it every time.
What if we're back? It's the playoffs. It's like it's the moment of the season.
Against the Bills.
Right, against the Bills. Little Mark Andrews redemption.
I would love to.
I'd be a little worried though. Like,
I would be in tears before the play. Before the play, we'll have a chance to see it. We also have a chance to remember the Dallas Cowboys exist. Isn't it fun when people take a break and they come back and it's like, oh,
yep.
Here you are, an opportunity to see the Cowboys in prime time once again. Monday Night Football. Dallas 3.5-point favorites, Jourdan, against the resurgent Las Vegas Raiders. They've got healthy Brock Bowers, and they're moving the ball now occasionally. It was a really good defense last week. How do you see this one going?
Yeah, I think ever since Brock Bowers came back, it's amazing what having one of the best players in the entire NFL can do for your offense and for your quarterback to get your quarterback back on track. Also, Chip Kelly, your favorite coach in the entire world, Patrick.
Chip Kelly, active, baby.
Showing a little bit of flexibility and getting pointedly mentioned by Pete Carroll in seemingly every press conference at this point. We'll see if that continues. I have loved this Dallas offense all season. I still love this Dallas offense. What I'm really, really interested in, and they've been through the worst couple of weeks as a group and that you can imagine. And I am glad that somebody with the, I think, emotional intelligence that Brian Schottenheimer has is leading this group through the tragedy of Marshawn Nealon's passing. And I'm not going to sit here and do the thing that sports does where it's like, turn it into this or that or whatever. In a vacuum, I am curious to see how this Cowboys Eberflus-led defense adjusts from the absolute fiasco that they were earlier in the season. And overall, I know this is going to be an incredibly emotional game for every Dallas Cowboys coach, player, support staff, front office member. My heart goes out to him. And like I said, I'm glad Brian Schottenheimer's the one in charge over there.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I think that's one of the most impressive things about Schottenheimer and why I thought he could be the right guy to lead this team in general, beyond the offense, which has had its moments, although struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks. I do struggle with that because they're going to put a lot onto this game, and it is going to be emotional to be out there for the first time, like without Marshawn Nealon, especially the way that they've happened. But I have been, I guess impressed is the wrong word, but just heartened to hear how openly so many of the different players have spoken about it and have spoken about mental health. I thought Micah Parsons, his ex-teammate, was beautiful on that too. And yeah, it's one of those games that it doesn't feel like it's gonna have a big impact on the playoff race or anything like that. And yet I think it's gonna be really meaningful for these young men and the older, men and women that are in the organization too, to just have a moment together. And they've been back together. It was such, strange timing too, because it was when the team was all apart from them. And so they've been back together this week and they've spoken a lot about that.
Yeah, we see teams and players deal with personal loss all the time. And that's the thing, when you suffer a big loss and you take a second away and you notice the world is still spinning and everybody's going about their business, but now they're all doing it together. And they have to work through that with all the people who are experiencing that. And I think like we subtract that element and we talk about all these things that don't matter and distractions. Like this is one where it's going to be on everybody's mind and an opportunity for them to see how they perform in the game at work. Where you kind of take a step back and think of perspective is like all this stuff doesn't really matter in comparison to that. But yeah, you guys mentioned with Schottenheimer, and I think with this group of veterans that's gone through a lot of guys that have seen a lot of coaches, seen a lot of turnover. They've had great games. They've also had horrible games, and the matchup to get back to football is a winnable one, an exceedingly winnable one against the Raiders team that also hasn't lived up to the expectations that we had.
Yeah, Dak. I mean, thinking about Dak Prescott too, that he dealt with it too on a personal level. And before we leave, it does occur to me. I read this book this year called Things in Nature Merely Grow. It's by Yi-Yun Lee, who's one of my favorite novelists, I would say, of the last 10 years. And she lost her sons to suicide, which is a crazy thing to happen to a parent. Anyways, I'll just say that if even 3 people or 1 person out here listening is interested in that, it's nominated for a National Book Award. I believe it's a finalist right now. But it reframed how I think about suicide in general as someone that is living on past the people that you love. So obviously it's more than football, Raiders and Cowboys, but we will be watching on Monday night. And that's it. We got to the end of the Week 11 slate here. We did it. We are past the halfway point.
We've made it. I was wondering, should I create a graphical representation for scoring for the conversation, guys?
I think so.
For people to track?
I love a visual aid.
On Blue Sky, maybe I'll make a Reddit account and
I love a
support
visual
the people
aid
on the NFL Daily Pod subreddit.
Yeah.
And who is leading right now? I mean, you're holding out from us.
No, it's Stafford.
Okay.
I feel like I said that.
Okay.
It's Stafford far and away because he gets his lifetime achievement points. But he's got some folks chasing him, including the guy that they traded to get Matthew Stafford and one Mr. Goff.
Okay. We'll be watching.
Football is poetry, my friends.
We'll be publishing too, because that's what we do here at NFL Daily. We put out shows, and the next show that you will hear will be a Thursday night recap. Talking a little Jets and Patriots. And Shooky and I, we come up with something a little extra, a little lanyap to throw in there as well. Just makes it a little special. We will see you then. Appreciate y'all